Alright, everybody. I want to get into this haves and the have-nots review. It's the third episode of the fourth season, and as always, we pick right up where we left off last week. So, last week when Candace was trying to dispose of Quincy, he woke up and grabbed her ankle. So we pick up from there, and he starts telling Candace to call an ambulance for him. He tries to say all this stuff about I think he says he loved her or something, and she says, "Well, I asked you to call an ambulance when you beat me up. You told me that my son had died," and she just brings up all the horrible stuff that Quincy has done to her. And Quincy's like, "Okay, well, if you don't call an ambulance, your son's not gonna get his medicine." She's like, "What medicine?" And he won't tell her what the medicine is, and so Candace just lets him die, and she doesn't find out what the medicine is. But we learn that Quincy really is telling the truth about the medicine, because when we get over to Hannah's, we find out that little Q is running a fever, and Hannah should have known that something serious was up with her grandson. I mean, she's raised two children. She's taken care of her grandson for a few years, so she should know when a kid is running a fever. Uh, the kid looks like he's been in a deluge. That's how much he's sweating, and she just thinks that he had too much cover on him. So she just says, if you're not still not feeling well, we'll take you to the hospital and all that. And apparently, the hospital didn't pick up on the fact that Q needs medicine when they examined him, because when they let him out, he was supposedly had it all clear. So Hannah, she talks to the social worker on the phone, and the social worker had been trying to reach her, and Hannah hadn't been picking up her phone for obvious reasons. Social worker tells her, "I went to your house. It was burnt down. What happened?" I had a fire. She's dancing around the issue. She says, "I'm at a motel with my grandson." Of course, the social worker is not going for that. She says, "If you don't have stable quarters for him by Monday at 3 o'clock, I gotta come pick him up and place him with his mother or in foster care." Uh, so Hannah's in big trouble anyway, because she doesn't have much cash on her from what it looked like. I mean, I think she like might have had like $10 or something. I can't remember how much she had in her uh, wallet, but it was like a five and some ones or something. So it wasn't a whole lot of cash she had. She definitely didn't have $65 to stay another day, because the woman at the front desk told her, "You got to get out if you don't have $65. You got to get out at 11 a.m. if you don't have $65 to pay for another day." She tried to say, "Can I clean up some of the rooms?" And the woman's like, "We got enough help." So Hannah's in big trouble, and she may have to stay in the house that Candace bought for Benny just to hold on to Q. So anyway, from there, let's go on to Jeffrey. Poor Jeffrey has ended up in a pretty bad situation with this cop. This cop's a major pervert, and Jeffrey would have been in some big trouble if the dispatch hadn't come through and backed the cop off. So uh, Jeffrey avoided that trouble, but his mom did not avoid the trouble this in this episode. So what happened was, Maggie was sick of David not seeing the truth, so she put that story out there about Veronica being a cheater. And the picture of Veronica with Benny in the car was on the front page of the newspaper under a headline that basically uh, distance David from Jim's wrongdoing, even though we know David was all in with Jim's scheme to cover up the hit and run. So what happened was the way that Jim and David and Veronica and Catherine found out about the story was that Jennifer had her insider in the prison, or in the jail rather. It's not prison, it's jail. Had her insider there arrange for Veronica and David and all of them to see the newspaper. So the somebody drops the newspaper in the cell with Catherine. Catherine picks up the newspaper and is like, Veronica, are you having an affair? And Veronica's like, what? She doesn't say no. She's just like, what? As if, how you know about that? She hands her the paper. And Veronica's like, Maggie Day. She wants David. And for Catherine, it's like Veronica. And then Veronica details why she knows this for sure. Because, you know, last season, Maggie had that conversation with her and laid everything out there on the table, so Veronica knows for sure that it's Maggie that's behind this mess. Um, back at over in Jim and David's cell, Jim looks at the paper and he's like, "I know that. Um, I know. I think he said." I know that the DA has it in for the DA wants to. I forget how he put it, but basically he just says, "Well, why would why was your wife on the front page here?" And David sees the paper and he's looking real stupid at everything, and Jim just has this look on his face like, mm, that as if he knows that David was, you know, backdooring him as far as it goes with Maggie, because of course the headline shows that David was being that that somebody's trying to put some distance between David and Jim as far as the whole thing about the whole thing of the whole scheme goes. So Jim's just looking at him like, yeah, I got your number. And as far as Veronica cheating, Jim's just like, he's just looking like, yeah, it happens. Because Jim's a cheater himself, and he's like, yeah, it happens. So that's out on the table now, and David's looking stupid, like, but he's still gonna stick with Veronica. He's still gonna stick with Veronica because that's what he does. And so finally, let's address some of what's been going on with Benny and what's his name, Warlock. So Benny calls up Warlock and he wants him to go into business with him. Uh, Warlock comes over there. Told you already brings one of his girls with him, and she was hilarious. She's just like, just so, just so slack, not really caring about what's going on. She's just like, whatever, has a big whatever attitude, and Warlock just puts her on the phone to take the calls that are coming in, because Benny's trying to take all these calls, and he's the only tow truck driver, and he's trying to manage all these calls. So he puts this girl on the phone, and she was hilarious. At least she was to me. And Warlock finds out that Candace put down all this money on this tow yard. And he's like, where'd she get all this money? Benny also reveals to him that she bought him and her a house. And Warlock's out, how much did that house cost? And Benny's like, well, probably about $1,000,000. And Warlock wants to find out where Candace stays at, and Benny tells him because he doesn't know what has been going on. He thinks that Warlock probably just wants to go see her. So Warlock finds out where Candace stays at, and he goes out and he starts choking Candace out like, you made a fool out of me. You gave me $150,000 and you had millions. And Candace is like in some real trouble, and then Warlock sees Quincy on the floor dead, a puddle of blood. So that's how it ends. So let me make sure I address stupid Wyatt about to get high, trying to pawn his mother's jewelry. He gives the dealer his parents' credit cards and all that stuff, and Wyatt's just stupid. I mean, he wants his inheritance, and the DA's about to get him his inheritance, but this fool is about to self-destruct again before he gets his inheritance. So yeah, Wyatt's a mess. So I thought I should address that a little bit. So that is the haves and the have-nots for this week. It was a good episode. I thought it was a real good episode, and ready to see what happens next week with Candace and Warlock and Quincy. We saw Candace in the preview, but we didn't see Warlock, so I'm anxious to see what's gonna go down with that. So thanks for watching. If you like this review, please rate and subscribe, and if you feel like it, leave a comment talking about the show. So thank you for watching, and deuces.